Welcome back to Beers and Pigskins for another episode. This is the NFL edition. We are heading right into the midpoint of the season, week 9. Crazy. We're right at the midpoint in the new 18 game schedule, or 18-week schedule, I should say. Um, man, what a week we had last week. A lot of stuff we're going to get into, but I think what we're going to do similar to last week is kick off the episode again with a beer review. That way we can enjoy our hopefully tasty beverage throughout the episode. How does that sound?
Well, if we talk about the Raiders at all, I'm gonna need a beer. So,
That's fair.
yeah.
That's fair.
I think it worked out well. Mostly, it just worked out well. I think we liked being able to sip on the beer throughout the podcast and kind of introduce it first. So,
Yeah, I feel like doing it the opposite way. Not that it's bad, but it's almost just like taunting me. Staring at me like, open me, and it's like I have to wait. And then you can get a little warm. And maybe I would have liked the Smarties beer more if we had it at the very beginning. That's all I'm trying to say.
There was nothing on God's green earth that was going to help the Smarties beer.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Well, why don't you tell the fine listeners or listener at home who we're drinking today?
Did you just downgrade us to one listener?
Hey, you got to be whoever that may be. I don't know. Christian Wall, John Davis. I don't know who's listening this week, but we gotta pay homage to those, the many or the few. It's kind of like the Marines, the few, the proud.
With that being said, this week we have, God, I want to show I want to show it to the camera, and then it just ends up not working. Oh, okay. Well then, yes, we'll show the people at home.
Hold on.
Yeah, here you got to talk a little bit. So
is that what it is? Well, maybe talking is what's messing it up. Well, okay. So this week we have, as you can see, honeycomb. We got the hexagons going on here, but a honey citrus blonde. It's a blonde ale with honey and orange peel. It comes from Community Beer Company. Let's see. Let me get all these juicy details. We got 6% alcohol by volume. Is there any other kind of detail or description that I'm missing on this?
A fun fact, Community is from Dallas. I used to drive when I used to go to the Robin Hood office. I used to drive by their brewery every single day. Oh. Yep, they are in Dallas, right off of 35 for the people that are local that know where that is. It looks like it. I mean, all things that I like. I mean, we got orange peel, we have honey, which I'm both a fan of. I think we're just gonna have to get straight into it.
What is your, before you take a sip there, if you might have already, but are you, when it comes to blondes, are you I know you kind of like everything. You'll drink pretty much anything for the most part. When it comes to
asking if I'm more of a blonde or brunette kind of guy?
I mean, I know the missus isn't a blonde, but are you a blonde guy or are you not a blonde guy?
I will say generally, I think darker beer. I think more of my favorite beers are darker beers.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's no denying that lighter beers are generally just easier to drink, and so I mean, there's qualities to that you can't really discount. I mean, that's definitely a factor in beer, is how easy is it to drink.
Yeah.
How easy does it go down? But I would say generally my more favorites are darker beers and the flavors that kind of go with that. But we'll see what this is. This isn't, this never works.
Look at you pouring it in a glass.
I have it in a glass and I'm trying to show the color. I don't know why mine is like so good at blocking out things that aren't me, but it'll show my microphone. Oh wait, now it's going away.
Barely.
Oh wait.
Oh.
What do I have to get like super close to the beer? I don't know if y'all can see that color if you're watching on YouTube, but it is like a nice No, it's not. It's not going to work. It was never going to work. But let's just get straight into it. It's a nice color. That's what I was trying to convey. It's a little bit. It is very orange. We'll just put it that way.
All right.
I'm gonna need a second sip. Hold on. Interesting. Okay.
This is my take. One, I was very parched, so it's refreshing first off. It almost and there sometimes can be some crossover. I don't know if it's because there's the orange taste in it, but it almost tastes like a very light IPA in a way. To me, at least, similar to um, what is the name of the Deep Ellum? Deep Ellum's has a similar to their IPA, not as heavy, but they also have a blonde as well that I've had. That tastes very similar. I've also had Dallas Blonde. I'm enjoying it. It's very refreshing. You made a face that I'm not sure how to decipher quite yet. I think you have a interesting opinion on this.
Yeah. I don't know how do I put this. It was I definitely tasted the orange, but I feel like with honey being in there, I was looking for. I think I got a flavor that I wasn't quite expecting, and it was a lot more the bitterness that you can get from an orange. And I think it kind of threw me a different way.
Oh, I think it's because it's not orange; it's orange peel, which I
Yeah,
don't.
and so I think I was expecting something that I wasn't getting.
Yeah, understandable. I see what you're saying there. Fun fact: as a child, I also used to eat the orange peel with the orange sometimes. So
That
very,
explains a couple things.
yeah, no, very fond of that kind of pungent, strong taste that you would get from a peel. I very much so taste that. Like it's
Yeah.
very abundant in that, which I like actually.
Yeah, I
But
think I wasn't expecting the correct thing. That's
yeah,
on me. That's not on them or the beer. That
sure.
that is on me. Um
I think for me, part of it though, I think the orange peel is strong. It hits you. You get that pungentness, but I think different than I've had with some blondes. I think the honey makes the aftertaste smooth and doesn't last as long. It kind of goes away, I think, rather quickly. Whereas I feel like some can linger a little bit.
I actually do think it's like sticking with me. It's like at the very back top of my throat. I can taste it. It's still there.
It's still there.
Um and so with that being said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this beer. They deliver on I think the flavor that they're going for. I think it's just not necessarily one of my more favorites. However, it's still a good beer. So I would say it's like a 6 and a half.
6.5. Ooh, okay. Okay.
Um, because I probably wouldn't, order it again or get, a lot of these. However, it's still quality. It's kind of it's in that perfect middle between a very light beer
Yeah.
um and a darker like a shiner if you wanted to go even darker with like stouts and all that. It's right in the middle, not quite to an IPA but kind of getting to the verge of that.
Mm.
Yeah, so I think a 6.5. It's a solid beer, but I think it's just not one that I would go back to.
Yeah. No, I'm actually a big fan of this so far. It's not like, oh my gosh, pulling me out of the water. But I will say that probably like 3 more sips, this will be empty. I've taken some very large gulps of this and
Wow.
drinking over half of the can. Um, I don't know. It's very smooth to my tasting, and maybe eating all those orange peels all those years. I'm getting some kind of weird body response, nostalgic feeling going on. That's just making this really easy to drink, but I'm not blown away by the flavor though. It's a very, I think, easy drinker is kind of what I'm getting at for me at least. I would give it because I gave last week's we had the Hofbrau Dunkel, right? And I think I gave that a 6.5 or 6.6 or something like that. And you gave that one like a 7.1.
Yeah.
I think I would go inverse here, and I probably would go like a 7.1 for this for me personally. Which
So it sounds like I picked a quality one, at least for you.
yeah, I think like I said, because it leans kind of into that IPA a little bit, but it doesn't have the lasting for me again. For you, it's sitting in your throat there a little bit, but I don't get the lastingness of like the hops are bitter in it. I thoroughly enjoy this. It's better than other blondes that I've had personally. So yeah, I'm gonna go 7.1 on this bad boy.
All right. Well, yeah. Shout out to Community Beer Company. They I've been there, and they have a pretty big brewery, and if you're close in the area, you can go there and try out, all of what they have to offer. I'm sure they have some seasonal stuff going on too, as we're getting close to the holiday season. But with that being said, without further ado, I think we're gonna hop into the football action and actual, meat of what we're gonna talk about today. We do have a tendency to kind of go along and kind of draw everything out. So I think we're trying to stay kind of on top of it and making sure we're moving along.
Squirrel.
I think we're gonna take like 2 minutes. Mason, do you have anything to say about the Saints before I take about 30 seconds to talk about my Raiders?
Yes. Saints offense doing better. Keep doing better. That's all we can ask for. Didn't make any moves at the deadline for the trade deadline. Totally fine. You got a easy game this week against Chicago. Keep up the pace. Do good work. I know they did Chicago traded for Montez Sweat. I'll be interested to see how much action he gets for the Bears. But Saints, I'm very happy with what they did against the Colts. Carr had a good game for really everyone across the board for the most part. Alvin Kamara is just his balance, his agility is frankly unreal. Olave sadly was the kind of the worst of the offense. He had a touchdown in his hand, not in his hands. It hit him directly in the helmet. I don't know if you've seen that highlight.
I did, and I also saw later Pro Football Focus also listed Chris Olave as one of the few people that have no drops on the season.
I guess a drop has to technically hit your hands.
I guess so, and not just a right in the forehead. But
yeah, it was a beautifully schemed route, beautifully run route, and dude just, I guess, didn't think he was getting the ball, even though he was wide open for a touchdown. But yeah, nonetheless, things are trending in the right direction, and the schedule is still favorable for them. So I'm positive, and the NFC South is bad. They're just out of first technically with Atlanta, which is kind of funny to say at 4-4. But yeah, feeling good so far.
Yeah, I was with Derek's taking some heat, and I was happy to see him kind of have a little bit of a bounce back game. And I watched a little bit of that game, and he was throwing some good balls out there, placing the ball pretty well.
Yeah, I think everyone buying in, and I think they'll just continue to build chemistry week over week over week, and it's a lot to bring in what you call a franchise quarterback into an entirely new team and building those relationships and knowing when to break off routes to certain coverage and whatnot. And it seems like I don't want to get off tangent here, but it seems like Rashid Shaheed and Derek Carr have built a really good relationship to certain coverages. Apparently the play this week was, I guess he calls him Sheed, and he went up to him. He's like, Sheed, if you see quarters defense, just go. And so that happened like 3 times, and my boy had 3 catches for 153 yards and touchdown. Yeah. Granted, one of them was from Taysom Hill, but still the same thing.
Yeah. So, it was nice to see that. As I've said before, not a Saints fan, but an honorary one, at least for right now, while my guy is on the team. I'm not going to talk about the Raiders too much. Besides the fact of I'm team Devontae Adams at this point. He deserves better. It was really tough watching him play the Lions last night. As you know, we've said we have been recording on Tuesday, so it was last night. The defense let up a ton of yards, but still only gave up 26 points. They did what I always ask teams to do when they play against good offenses, which is, you can bend, just bend, don't break. They forced a lot of field goals. They forced a lot of turnovers, which was fantastic. Only gave them 26. And they even scored 7 of their own, had a pick 6. And the offense put up a total of 7 points. So at this point, would really love to see McDaniels go. Honestly, was hoping that they would be able to trade Devontae Adams. Seems like it wasn't that they weren't able to. They just straight up did not even try or did not accept any offers. I think he deserves better than what he's getting on the Raiders right now. Obviously, a big thing was he was going to come play with Derek Carr, and they're very good friends. Obviously, Derek was traded away. Not a whole lot of bright spots right now. I do love coming on the podcast and being, just very blindly happy for when they do win. And this is one of those times that I can't. So McDaniels needs to go. The offense is terrible. And for being an offensive guy, he's created a terrible offense with a lot of weapons. So we're going to move on from that.
Hold on.
Okay.
I want to get my piece in. 2 things. I feel you there. First off, unrelated to, I guess, the organization as a whole, but I saw some crazy guy he was like out at a bar at a restaurant. He had a parlay on Sam Laporta and Marcus Peters to both score a touchdown, which to me is just
that's nuts.
A weird thing to ever bet on. Like I didn't
Betting
even
on
know
Marcus
you could
Peters to have a touchdown is just crazy.
Didn't even know you could bet on specific like defensive players. But when he got the pick 6, it was like they're recording him or whatever. The restaurant like shattered the glass on his table because he jumped up so quick from being excited. Secondly, all I can think of is like Devontae Adams situation. I don't know if you recall this, if you were really into football at the time, but probably, I don't know, 12, 15 years ago, there was another star receiver who was, dealing with some issues with his quarterback, Mr. Terrell Owens and Tony Romo, and press conference, and Terrell is in his leather jacket and talking about, that's my quarterback. And I feel like this is the complete opposite vibe. Devontae Adams he's like, I better just keep my mouth shut. And that way y'all don't say or twist anything that I feel or want to say. It's not good. He's a stud. You got to be able to hit your guy when it's one thing to miss a throw when a guy's covered. But when a guy's wide open, what are you doing? We'll blame
if anything, underthrow him. You can always just come back to the ball.
Yeah,
don't overthrow him.
Yeah.
There was nobody around him for 10, 15 yards.
Yeah, no.
So
that's true. So
is what it is. Don't want to stay on that for too much longer. But today is the trade deadline. Raiders didn't make any moves. The Saints didn't make any moves. But I did want to ask you, because a team that did make some pretty substantial moves with shipping guys out of the program was the Washington Commanders, with 2 of their edge guys. Montez Sweat is going to the Bears for, it was a 2nd round pick, And then Chase Young going to the 49ers to team up with his former teammate in Nick Bosa from Ohio State. So I'm sure the 49ers are very hopeful for that combination. I was pretty surprised. Not sure if you could weigh in. I know that the Commanders are kind of in a tough division, but they just got rid of both of their edge pieces on a team that, they've had some ups and downs and they've looked good at some points and bad at some points, but they're really not like they're not an awful team. I didn't fully understand it. Maybe there's there's a thought process that I'm kind of missing there. What do you think about it?
Yeah, so I think first off, the reason Washington needed to move these pieces is because you have both Chase Young and Montez Sweat coming into a contract here, and these guys are going to get money. And Washington has already forked out, I believe, the two largest contracts for D tackles and Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. Spent a lot of money. So frankly, they don't have the money to keep all four of these guys together. And so getting quality value for them while they can was the smart thing to do, especially coming into, I think you're kind of seeing this season. There are a lot of weapons on this team on both sides of the ball, but on offense, a lot of people were like, okay, end of 2022 or whatever, maybe Sam Howell's the guy. Maybe we did luck out with that draft pick. We're going to start him over Taylor Heineke, get rid of Heineke and start him 2023. And we've seen promising moments. He's played well the last few games. I mean, he threw for almost 400 yards against the Eagles or whatever, and 4 touchdowns. But we've also seen the bad side of that. There's been the 14-7 Giants game, right? It's very wishy-washy in what's going on in this offense. But I think you kind of saw the level they can be when they get the ball to their playmakers. I think what they're probably doing is they probably have a few things in mind, or people or prospects are looking at in next year's loaded draft. And that might be quarterback. Who knows? But you take now, they have a first round pick still from their own pick, which potentially could be, depending on where they finish, they're 3-5 right now, or let's see, 3 and 4, 3-5, 3-5. Let's say they finish in the top 12, top 15. That's a solid pick. Well, then you have Chicago's second round, which is going to be most likely in the top 5 picks in the second round. You have your second round, and you have a third round. Okay, you have an opportunity to jump up and go get. I think it's a stretch saying Caleb Williams, but a Drake May, a Penix, or whoever they're sought after, or maybe it's another weapon. Maybe you can then trade back, and maybe there's going to be a run on quarterbacks, and you're fine with Howell, but now you can load up on other talent elsewhere, and you have cheap rookie contracts. So I think it's smart what they're doing. They're more so playing for the future as opposed to investing a lot of what they have currently, because again, they're probably pretty strapped for. I don't know what their salary cap is going into next season now that they have those two guys gone. But yeah, and you have McLaurin. I don't know what his contract is, but you got to kind of keep him around. He's going to be expensive. He's a good receiver. And Dotson, there was rumors of him being shipped out, but he ended up not going anywhere at the trade deadline. But yeah, no,
invest some money into that O line.
Yeah,
my God,
yeah, Sam
41 sacks on the year.
He's the most sacked quarterback in the league. So yeah, that might be the play. Is hey, we're going to save money. We're pretty confident we can still achieve a pretty solid, front 7 pressure with the 2 all pros that we have up front, and kind of just building the supporting cast around him. But now if we can get Sam Howell some supporting cast of his own and strengthen up that line, maybe he is the guy of the future, and we can now start to just invest our money elsewhere. And now we're loaded on draft picks, and now we can just, get a bunch of really solid talent for cheap. So I like what they did. I thought they got good value based on, a few things. Chase Young going for a third round. That was actually kind of shocking to me. Again, he's kind of been up and down, and he's got the injury history. But I think the ceiling is really high there.
Mhm.
And so I was kind of surprised that he didn't go for a second as well. But interesting moves. I will say Chase Young going to the 49ers is more so almost a bigger story than, him being dealt. Chase Young and Nick Bosa and Arik Armstead and Javon Kinlaw, like the 49ers lost 3 games in the row, and they were like, If Brock Purdy can't put up touchdowns, our defense has got to start scoring. So we got to do something. So that might be. I feel bad for whoever. I think they play Jacksonville. They have a bye this week, and then I think they play Jacksonville that first week. So not only does Chase Young get a week to kind of rest and then come in, learn the playbook a little bit. Yeah, no, that could be that's an all-in kind of move, kind of like the Rams did a few years ago. Like they are really pushing to make the Super Bowl.
Yeah. The playbook for Chase Young is probably go get quarterback. Go get the football.
See ball, go ball, get ball.
See ball, get ball. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, hats off to them. They're, like you said, lost 3 games. I mean, the Raiders lose 3 games, and they're like, maybe we should try a little bit harder. I don't know. But anyways, I'm just venting my feelings here. And then the last thing I think we wanted to touch on, small story, obviously, disappointing with Kirk Cousins going down. I think a lot of people thought, and there were reports coming out that the Saints and Vikings were working to make a deal to send out Jameis for the Vikings, and it looks like that never worked out. But they ended up on Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, false rumors. False rumors.
Yeah, apparently, or maybe it just didn't get done. It's not who I thought they were gonna get. I thought that maybe it would be like a Taylor Heineke or but he's starting for Atlanta now. Because it seems like the Desmond Ridder experiment has kind of hit an impasse.
I think.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting Josh Dobbs. Isn't he also like hurt this week? He wasn't even gonna maybe play, so maybe Jaron Hall is still gonna be the guy moving forward.
So Jaron Hall is going to be the starting QB this week. But I am fully confident that Josh Dobbs will be the starting quarterback afterwards. I think
he threw some balls around at BYU.
Hall.
Yeah.
I think Josh Dobbs did swimmingly well for what the expectations were for that Cardinals team. Yep. Exceeded my expectations out of the water based on what I had seen Dobbs previously in Browns preseasons. And I was never a huge fan of him at Tennessee either. But I was very impressed with the way he composed himself and was able to put together some drives, extend plays with his legs, and kind of give a little bit of fun to a pretty much dilapidated Arizona team for the most part.
Dilapidated. Wow.
Big word. SAT vocab word. With that said, I think it was just timing of this whole thing just worked out perfectly because they ended up benching Dobbs at the end of that game, I believe. Or I could be wrong. I don't know. Or maybe he was hurt. I don't know what it was. I feel like he got pulled out of the game against Baltimore this week at some point. Or am I tripping?
Well, because the reports coming out were, Kyler's still out, right? He's not close to coming back.
Apparently he's healthy, but he's doubtful every week.
Oh, okay. Well, all I know is Clayton Tune is technically the guy that was his backup, and he was probably going to start this week.
Yeah, so Clayton Tune is 100% starting. Okay,
Well, I
so
mean,
he's
now, yeah, he's
playing-
definitely starting.
Well, yeah. Okay, I'm looking at. Okay, so Clayton Tune only came in for one play. For some reason, I feel like he came in for longer. But with that said, I think that it was really disappointing because I think the Vikings felt like they were starting to turn a few things around with their season, especially with beating the 49ers. What was that? Last week? Whatever game it was. But nonetheless, oh wait, I just looked at the wrong. Yeah, dude, I totally just looked at the wrong box score. Tripping out. I knew something didn't look right.
We're having issues over
Well,
here on
we
the
are.
Beers and Pigskins podcast.
My brain is not functioning. Okay, yeah, I'm tripping out. It was 2 weeks ago. But anyway, Josh Dobbs, that was the afternoon game for Arizona. And when did Minnesota play? Minnesota played at noon. So there's part of me here, Yakub. It was very apparent that Kirk Cousins ruptured his Achilles. Just like the same video of Aaron Rodgers, you can see it happen.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing the vibration, the boinging around in the back of the calf. Like, that's exactly what happened.
Sure.
He knows it immediately. Staff knows it immediately. Okay, boom. What are our options moving forward? Probably not going to be Jaron Hall. Tell you that much, or at least we need depth at the very minimum. Okay. Well, we know. We look around the league. Who's got formidable backups? Sure, you could say Jameis Winston is an option. But there's been this phony reporter going out there saying all this information, and the Saints inside reporter has basically quoted all of his tweets. He's like, no, this is false information. You're just making lies up. And somehow this guy just keeps getting traction. His name's CJ Golson. Don't know how he has a platform. Anyway, Jameis Winston, in theory, could be an option. Josh Dobbs, who's proven this season he's good enough to manage games. And you probably have Kyler Murray coming back, so you know there's depth on Arizona's team, especially having rookie Clayton Tune around. Outside of that, really not a whole lot of teams that would probably be willing to ship off a quarterback. There's not a lot of depth. Backup quarterbacks are a pretty big commodity right now in the league. Especially that we've seen how many changes. Heck, maybe you need to go get Malik Willis or Will Levis, who put on a clinic. Maybe Ryan Tannehill becomes available. Who knows?
Brian Hoyer on the Raiders.
Brian Hoyer.
Veteran guy.
Yeah. So there's a lot of options, but I think when you look at it, they probably immediately called up Arizona. They knew the trade deadline was this week. I wouldn't be surprised if they called them Sunday night, maybe Monday. And they were like, hey, look, we think we can still salvage something here. What do you want for Josh? You got Kyler probably coming back. Like they said, he's cleared every medical report. They just are holding him out until they feel it's right, which honestly could probably be the whole season. We might see Clayton tune up for 7 games, which would be cool. I liked him at Houston. Fun guy. But yeah, no, it's a good fit for him. I think it gives him an opportunity to go in with a solid team when he comes in and learns the playbook. Hopefully, that's kind of when Justin Jefferson's coming back. He's getting a stud there with him, and Jordan Addison has proven to be a stud, really stepping up in Jefferson's absence. That may very well be your offensive rookie of the year. He's already got like 7 or 8 touchdowns or something. So keep an eye on that. But yeah, no, good for him to have another job. I'm glad that he found a fit somewhere.
Yeah, he is just making his way around the league. Yeah, exactly. But I think with that being said, I think we want to roll through these picks that we got for the week. We'll also include our locks for spread and just straight up who we like.
I will say we did have a bounce back week after the previous atrocious week. We both went 12-4 in our picks, which was a good feeling.
Yeah, it was a good feeling. It was nice to see a lot more green than red
Yes.
on the Excel sheet that we have.
Yes.
But moving forward, getting straight into the action, please cue the Chris Berman picks before the Sunday games start off. Yeah, cue the music. We don't have the editing skills, so we're just gonna hum it the whole time. Starting off, Tennessee at Pittsburgh. I don't know why I stopped on Pitt right there. But the only reason I picked Pittsburgh this week is because I don't know if Tannehill is healthy. I think I saw that Mike Vrabel said that if Tannehill is healthy, they're still going to have him come back and be the starter. If Will Levis is the starter, I think I'm probably taking Tennessee. However, I'm predicting that Tannehill is going to be the starter again this week, and that's why I'm taking Pittsburgh.
I am predicting it to be the Will Levis Show 2.0 on a short week for these teams playing on Thursday night. I also just loved seeing it was funny. People were saying, "Oh, look, it's like vintage DeAndre Hopkins," and Hopkins quoted it with like current DeAndre Hopkins or something like that along those lines. Or they said like prime or whatever, and he's like now. But nonetheless, Pittsburgh's a mess right now. Like they
are a mess.
They did win against the Rams 2 weeks ago, but like in-house, Kenny Pickett has played frankly terrible. The run game is atrocious, and I did see a little promise out of Deontay Johnson this past week. You know, looked good, but I just can't trust that team right now. And I'm going with the hot hand. Granted, it's one game, and Will Levis comes out and deals.
I know. I think I'm just a Mike Tomlin guy, and I'm following Mike Tomlin. So taking Pittsburgh there. We have Chicago at New Orleans. We both have New Orleans. Mason will yet again for the 9th week in a row take his New Orleans Saints. And as he puts it, yes, I take them every week because they should be 8-0 at this point.
I mean,
care to weigh in?
I did say that verbatim, and there's I don't need to explain myself. You should want your team to win every week.
And throwing shade at me because I don't take the Raiders every week.
I will say, barring like if you look at the schedule, like they've had the most favorable schedule amongst the league, so it's hard. I wouldn't say that any of those games were like, oh, that team's gonna handedly beat the Saints. They easily have been within, I think, at most a 5-point, probably 3-point dog in a game. So every game you could almost flip a coin. Nonetheless, I'm riding with them again this week, and also they are my lock of the week. I don't like a lot of the games this week, so I'm going a little easy here. Granted, they're at home and they haven't played super well at home so far, but if Tyson Bagent is playing again, I like this defense to take care of business against him, and the offense is trending upward. So lock it in.
We got the first lock of the week. Moving on to Miami at Kansas City. I have Miami. They're slightly banged up right now. Hopefully Achan will. What's he out with again? Some ankle knee. Hopefully he can come back soon. But I love that offense so much, and I don't know what on earth Kansas City put up at Denver this past weekend, but it was a whole lot of ugly against a team that is not good.
Yeah, no. Achan, from what I was reading reports, he probably was going to be the minimum. So when they put him on injured reserve, that's obviously a minimum of 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like his situation was going to be just the 4 games and he'd be back. So that's hopeful for them getting some more explosion offense. But Mostert's been toting the rock, doing well. They also have Jeff Wilson seemingly healthy as well. So more depth at that position. But frankly, at this point, Tyreek Hill's offensive player of the year. There's really no way around that. The guy has, I think this is only the second time, or he's the first time in the Super Bowl era to have over 1,000 receiving yards through the first 8 games of the season.
Yeah.
Pretty nutty to think about.
It's been
So,
crazy.
yeah, I originally did pick Kansas City, but I went back and changed it. It was one of those like, okay, Kansas City needs to bounce back at home kind of thing. But I just don't trust them. If the Dolphins can minimize Travis Kelce, then force them to do other things. Like they're really poor outside of Kelce and then a hit play here and there from Rice or Pacheco. Like Hardeman has not been granted he's just coming back, but Hardeman's not it. Kadarius Toney's not it. Sky Moore, I think, is probably one of the biggest fantasy busts of the year for a lot of people. People were expecting a huge production from him, and he's been awful. Justin Watson, Marquez Valdez, can't like the list goes on and on. Kansas City's offense is bad. And yeah, they lost to Denver. I mean, come on, what's going on there? So yeah, I had to switch it back to Miami as well.
Yeah. Moving forward, we have Minnesota at Atlanta. Looks like we both have Atlanta. I think we're both expecting Taylor Heineke to be the guy, at least moving forward for this game. I'm not convinced or anything on the Atlanta Falcons. But I just think it's going to take 1 or 2 days, 1 or 2 games for, Minnesota to feel comfortable again with their quarterback situation. And that's the reason that I'm taking them. I don't think that they have a good enough defense to kind of rely on them, shutting down the opposing team's offense. And so I'm taking Atlanta. Don't feel great about it, but we're taking them.
Yeah, Atlanta is somehow 4-4 and leading the division in the NFC South. Arthur Smith and Arthur Blank are probably two of the biggest bozos in the entire league. Don't understand how you take 3 arguably generational talents and never use them. Bijan Robinson has only, touched the ball 11 times, and you drafted him number 3, 4 overall, 2 overall. I don't even know what he was. Top 5 pick. Kyle Pitts was number 4. Drake London was number 5 or top 10. Yeah, I just don't get what they're doing there. I hope to see Bijan get 15 plus touches this week, hopefully. But yeah, I think coming off the Kirk Cousins blow, Jaron Hall, it's got a big ask of him to come into Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta there and beat the Falcons, who have hung around in every game they've been in for the most part. They haven't just been like blown out of the water. So I'm gonna take them in a close one. It'd probably come down to field goals, which Younghoe Koo is a pretty good kicker, so I like the chances there.
He definitely is. Arizona at Cleveland. I don't think we have to break this down too much. I mean, Cleveland's not the most convincing team on the planet, but they do have a good defense. That has shown some holes the last couple of weeks. They haven't been as dominant, but they're still good. And Arizona just traded away their starting quarterback, at least for right now. So we'll see Clayton Tune. Wish the best for him as he's making his debut. But that's gonna be tough. I think I would have even chosen the Browns with Josh Dobbs on the Cardinals. But now that they don't even have him, I'm definitely taking the Browns. And I think that's probably your reasoning as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Nothing more to it.
All right, moving on. We have the Los Angeles Rams at the Green Bay Packers. I think this is one of the first ones that we disagree on. I'm taking the Rams. Look, if you lose to the Raiders, you're not a very good team. That's the philosophy I'm taking in this. Green Bay's got a lot of things to figure out. Matt LaFleur is not having a very good season. I know that, Packer faithful are kind of questioning his play calling and B, kind of where he's going with that team. And obviously the Rams kind of got blown out of the building playing the Cowboys this past weekend, but I think they bounced back a little bit. It was probably just a bad game for them. I'm taking them, and they're also 3-point underdogs, so I'm taking them against the spread as well at 3 points against the Packers.
Yeah, no. My decision in this game, I took Green Bay, and tell you right now, I don't want to take Green Bay. But I purely picked them at this moment in juncture of recording this, going on the notion that Matthew Stafford doesn't play in this game. That is my one kind of. If he does play, I probably will flip to a Rams pick here, but I'm going to say that as of now, they rest the thumb, sit him out a week in a game that they might be able to win without him, but don't want to force it. And they're going to give Brett Ripien a shot to take down the Packers. But Packers at home, the narrative has been very, very, very bad. So that is why I'm rolling with the Pack. Pack Nation. Couple Lambeau leaps, get Christian Watson involved, get Aaron Jones the ball, people. Get him the ball, Matt LaFleur. Get him in the end zone. He's a playmaker. Let him do some work. Block for your boy Jordan. And these receivers also need to catch the ball. There's issues all across the board there with that team, but going with the Pack against my better judgment with no Matt Stafford on the other side.
All right. I obviously it goes without saying. Well, it doesn't go without saying, but I am assuming that Matthew Stafford is actually going to play, taking them against the spread.
I'm going to pause you real quick. I'm just going to note for those video watchers, there seems to be a glow on your face. What is there a light that turned on? What's going on over there? Are you in a
I don't know.
tanning booth?
I'm kind of dark right now. Oh, there we go.
And I'm over here looking like I'm in the Arizona
I don't know.
desert.
There's just a window going on over here. So
like a
I don't know.
shiny boy over here, just in the middle of the sun is what I look like.
Yeah, I just now realized that I'm looking like there's barely any light on me. Anyways, moving on. We have a very exciting game between two very good teams. We have Washington at New England.
A little sarcastic.
Yeah, did you pick up on that? I'm taking New England.
It is a coin flip for me.
I don't know what to do with it. I have no idea. It's literally 50-50 to me. I don't like either team. We're taking the Pats just because they're in Foxborough. We'll say that.
That's fair. I'm taking Washington just because I don't know.
He wants to disagree.
Because their quarterback is better than Mac Jones.
Hey, you know what? That's fair. That's definitely fair. Moving on to maybe a little bit more interesting matchup. We have Seattle at Baltimore. I'm taking Seattle. I just like the football that they're playing. They're playing very consistent football. When they lose, they still seem to be in the games, and they're taking care of business when they need to take care of business. And their offense is kind of what they were last year, which is very consistent. They're not going to make a ton of mistakes. They're going to drive the football down the field a couple times. Still like the weapons that they have. And I'm taking Seattle, even though the Baltimore has played some really good football as of late.
Yeah, I'm going different here. I'm going with the Ravens. I think they struggled a bit this week with Arizona and kind of coming off a arguably historic game for them with how efficient they were on offense the prior week, with Lamar throwing for 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, whatever it was. I think they bounce back at home, beat a really good Seattle team. They need to get some things keyed in together. There's been some issues with getting secondary receivers involved in the game. Odell Beckham, Nelson Aguilar, Rashad Bateman. Zay Flowers has been a fantastic rookie. Mark Andrews is doing Mark Andrews things, being consistent. He's pretty much getting a touchdown a game for the most part. Is always Lamar's number one go-to option. But I will say the bright side of last week's game is there was success on the ground outside of Lamar. Gus Edwards had a really big game, played well, 3 touchdowns, running hard. I think this is going to be potentially 2 playoff teams battling in this game. So I think it'll be a fun matchup, and it could go either way, but I'm going to go with the home team here.
Very nice. Yeah, I could see myself doing that. I don't know. Like Seattle just a little bit more. We have Tampa Bay at Houston. I really did want to take Houston. I took Houston as a lock last week to beat Carolina, and they just didn't pull through. They did not play very well. And I still wanted to take them this week, but just based off of that last game, their offense looked very sluggish compared to how they have been. I still think their defense is playing better than a lot of people thought that they would going into the season. But I'm taking Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay's on a skid, and they'll be looking really to kind of take advantage and kind of get back in the win column. So I'm taking Tampa Bay.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of right there with you. The same reasoning. I think Tampa Bay needs this win. I'm taking a look now. I see I'm picking 2 NFC South teams to win, which is just gross, and I hate looking at that. But yeah, I think Houston might drop a few games. We didn't see quite the Houston team we had seen prior to the Carolina game. So I'm gonna go with Baker Mayfield and that offense to get clicking. Maybe a good Mike Evans game.
Yep, for sure. We have moving right along. We have Indianapolis and at Carolina. Again, using last game logic, I think Carolina was a little bit of a fluke. They won a very close game. They still didn't look super convincing. They did get their first win of the season. But I've liked the football that Indianapolis has played, even without Anthony Richardson being there. I think Jonathan Taylor's playing a little bit better of football. He's kind of coming into his own a little bit. And the offense can score some points. They've shown that they can score some points. I'm taking Indianapolis.
Indianapolis will win this game if they give Jonathan Taylor the ball more than 15 times. He has progressively put up bigger numbers each week since coming back and re-signing his contract. My guy had 12 carries for 95 yards at half and didn't get another carry the rest of the game. So
yeah, I think I saw that as well.
Some things to figure out there. I understand Zach Moss is good as well, and they have a good tandem there. But Jonathan Taylor's Jonathan Taylor for a reason. And I think will only help Minshew and kind of being able to prop up that team on offense. I mean, they put up points against the Saints, but they just kind of lost their way a little bit. But I think they take care of business on the road to a team that, frankly, is going to be quite the work in progress for a while to get some stuff figured out in Carolina.
Yeah, I also forgot to mention I'm taking them as my lock just to win for the week. So that'll wrap up my 2 locks for the week. Moving on, we have the New York Football Giants against my team. I'm gonna take the Raiders and just not even look. I think you feel the same way. I don't even know. I hate both of the teams. I'm just gonna blindly take the Raiders and move on and not look at that decision again.
Yeah, yeah.
The Giants put up, what was it, -7 passing yards in the last game? How do you even do that? I
Hey
don't know.
now, Tommy DeVito, don't be hating on my guy. Yeah, no, that's a game that I hope breaks records for least amount of viewership. But Yeah, no, I decided to bandwagon with you there. I really didn't know what to do, but I'm going Raiders as well, and I'm just going to close my eyes and hopefully it ends up a Raiders victory come
Yeah.
Saturday or Sunday.
Welcome to the club. It's not a good time. We're happy that you're here. Moving on, we have Dallas at Philadelphia, which is
Right.
up there with the game of the week. Very well could be the game of the week. I have Philadelphia. Just two really simple points. A, Philly is playing some really good football. They were down early and came back and just kind of showed, hey, we woke up. We're the Philadelphia Eagles. We got playmakers on both sides of the ball. We're gonna go out there and score some points. And B, what's up?
Sorry, there's a lot of kids right outside my window. It's Halloween. They're just yelling. I didn't know if you could hear that. I wanted to.
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Sorry.
And my second point is it's Dallas, and anytime I have the opportunity to not pick Dallas logically, I'm gonna take that chance, and so we're not taking Dallas.
Yeah, no, that is a very smart thing to do, and I'm doing the not smart thing, and I'm taking Dallas. And not only am I taking Dallas as my pick here, but I'm also taking them because they are the dog in this game, and they're on the road in Philly. I'm taking Dallas +3 as my spread lock of the week. I don't know. This matchup always goes back and forth either way. They split last year. Traditionally, it seems like the home team wins, which would make me be like, well, why am I picking Dallas then? That doesn't make any sense. But, we're just going to roll with it. I think Dallas has had the upper hand in these head-to-head matchups in the season over the last few years. Taking a look, last year they split. 2021, Dallas swept. 2020, Dallas, they split again. So Dallas has got an extra win up on them. But nonetheless, we have seen moments of weakness from this Philly team throughout the season. And if there's a team to exploit that and put pressure on them, it's Dallas. They're a really solid roster through and through. CeeDee Lamb is just playing at a really good level. I'm glad to see him be as successful as he is. He's kind of in that draft class. No one, I would say, thought he's bad, but like comparatively, Justin Jefferson has been putting up the crazy historic numbers. And like, well, that was the best player in the draft. But CeeDee Lamb's also no slouch either, and he's starting to prove that motivated and healthy, he can be that guy and kind of can make a difference and break a game if need be. So I like them to pull off the upset there, if you will, and take control of the division.
Yeah, for sure. I understand. I mean, the Cowboys looked really good last week. But you know what? Maybe it's just my bias coming in a little bit there.
I think it's a coin flip.
Yeah. We have Buffalo at Cincinnati. I'm just gonna keep using the logic that I think is very valid for Buffalo right now. And Buffalo continues to play up to or down to whoever they're playing. I think even though Cincinnati got off to a very slow start, I think they're still looked at as a very strong, very powerful team that can do a lot of good and can score a lot of points at any given time. Their offenses started to get going here a little bit. So I think Buffalo also needs a win for them that's, convincing, as they've had a very unconvincing last about 3 weeks. So I'm taking Buffalo. Josh Allen needs to have a good game, a very convincing game. So I think I'm taking Buffalo, feeling pretty good about it. However, Cincinnati has been playing some pretty good football.
Yeah, Cincinnati is playing some pretty good football, and that is why I'm taking them. This is a long-awaited matchup. This is the game that got called off last year. from the DeMar Hamlin injury, or I guess it's still technically an injury, but Cincinnati has had the upper hand on Buffalo. They did meet in the playoffs, and Joe Burrow and company took care of business. But with that said, it's a home game. This is the Sunday night matchup, I believe. I like Joe Burrow and company to take care of business again. While Buffalo did play well, we haven't seen that consistency. And I can't say that we've seen it from Joe Burrow this year, but every single week, the last 3 weeks, Cincinnati has gotten better and better, and they played better and better opponents, and they just beat San Francisco, and they beat them, I would argue, pretty handedly. I think it was 31-17, but the way they kind of beat them, it didn't look as close as it might have been on the scoreboard. Jamar's that dude. Joe looks like that calf has never bothered him before. I saw him scramble more in that game against San Francisco than I've ever seen him scramble. He hit, and he was motivated. He was fired up too. He hit one for like a 20-yard right up the gut. They called a QB run, like 5 wide QB run, and like 3rd and 8. Boy took it for 15. He's got up, slapping his helmet, throwing the hand signal for first down. I was like, okay, Joe Shiesty's back. He's hyped up and he's ready to lead this team. And that's what they do. They start off slow and then they rattle off 9 wins in a row, and then they're right there in the playoffs. So I like them to take care of business at home against Buffalo.
For sure. Don't hate the pick, but moving on to our last game, looks like our Monday night game this week. We have the Chargers at the New York Jets. It looks like we both have the Chargers. I think, your reasoning for last game is, Brandon Staley's kind of on that fine line of he's got to start winning games or he's out of there. I'm just going to keep riding that mentality, which is he's got to keep winning games, and this is a game that he should win. The Chargers are a better team than the New York Jets at this point. And even though I like the Jets team, they've overcome quite a bit already this season. I like the Chargers. I think they kind of pulled that out and taken them to win.
Yep, no, I agree. I think this is a really important game for them to win going into. They have Detroit next week. So I think building up that momentum going into a stiffer competition is going to be really big for that team. As long as they stay healthy, they should beat the poo-poo Jets and not have to worry about anything. And life will be good for them. They'll be happy. And Zach Wilson and that poor, talented team that they have will just have to continue to suffer.
Breaking news, they are no longer the New York Jets. They are the poo-poo Jets, according to Mason Davis. But yes, that wraps up our slate of games for the week. The last thing we want to touch on, and that is very important, is last week I did take the win once again for our weekly matchup to move the record to 5-3 for me. It was a close matchup. It was just think you needed your guys in the afternoon to kind of pull through, and both Pacheco and Zay Flowers kind of both had off games a little bit. And then the only reason I won was Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, that duo.
70 points right there.
Worked out really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that just about wraps it up, I think, for the NFL edition of the podcast. We were trying to keep it a little bit shorter. I have no idea if we even did. I forget when we started.
I think we did better.
Okay, hopefully we did better. Did you have anything before we wrapped up?
Not really. Get out there, enjoy some good football this weekend. This is kind of the halfway point, and we'll do some mid-season predictions and kind of see where we're at next week, and look forward to a great second half. And we appreciate all those tuning in, the few, the proud, the many. However, leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, whatever your poison of choice is, and listen to this. We appreciate it, and we will catch y'all in the next one.
See you.